Everything in this video is my opinion and should be taken with a grain of salt because this show is called Backseat Driver. For as long as the idea of an Italian sports car has existed, there has been one brand that has been above all else when talking about Italian sports cars: Ferrari. Whether you're looking at the older models of the past that shape what Ferrari is today, or newer models that push the boundaries of technological innovation with every new model, one thing can be certain: there is no comparison between any other brand and Ferrari. Right? I beg to differ. Today, Ferrari unveiled their new supercar in the XX lineup. Now, if you don't know, the XX program is a program made by Ferrari in 2005 to take extreme and special cars to the track in private events. These cars include the FXX, the 599XX, and the FXXK, and all the evolution models that came from them. But now we have another addition to that lineup in the form of the SF90XX. Now, this is an upgraded version of the SF90 that has been developed by Ferrari to add more to the SF90 platform. Now, if you heard me correctly, you heard me say that the XX program is for special cars to go on track at events, right? And because of that, I have a couple problems with this new car. Let me explain. Now, starting in 2005, Ferrari made the FXX, which was based on the Enzo. The Enzo had a 6-liter V12. The FXX was bumped up to a 6.3-liter V12, which gained an additional 138 horsepower from the Enzo to the FXX, as well as a 21 pound-foot torque upgrade. The red line was bumped up 300 RPM from 8,200 to 8,500 RPM, and overall the car lost about 219 pounds, so a pretty decent upgrade, and it also sounds amazing. If you've ever seen any videos of this car, you know exactly what I mean. It's magnificent. Then in 2009, Ferrari made the 599XX, which is a modified version of the road-going 599. By the way, Enzo's road-going, I didn't think I needed to say that. This one was slightly less changed than the FXX. This one still shared the 6-liter V12 from the regular car. However, it got a 108 horsepower bump, as well as a significant bump in torque as well. The red line changed from 8,500 to 9,000, and the car also lost 446 pounds compared to the street one. It's a pretty significant change, but warranted considering this is a track-only car, and again, this one also sounds amazing. Then in 2015, Ferrari made the FXXK, which was based on the LaFerrari hypercar. It still shared the same base engine layout, the 6.3-liter V12 from the LaFerrari, as well as the hybrid motors, and got an 86 horsepower increase, which is less than the other two, but still a significant amount of power, as well as another torque bump. He also got an extra 400 RPM and lost about 199 pounds compared to the regular LaFerrari. Also, with the addition of a KERS system, technology based out of Formula 1, that's what the K in FXXK stands for, KERS. Each of these cars also got an upgrade at some point down the line to keep them up to date with the Evolution, packages. In 2007, the Evolution kit was given to the FXX, which cost an extra $300,000 on top of the £2 million, couldn't find a USD number for some reason, starting price. The 599XX also got an upgrade at one point for around $200,000 on top of the $1.5 million asking price that it already had. And finally, the FXXK got an upgrade kit in around 2017 for an additional $500,000 on top of the about $2.7 to $3.1 million price. It's a little hard to find prices on some of these newer cars because they're still kind of in market. Basically, all these kits were basically just some aero, some suspension tweaks, some engine tweaks, some things to keep them viable on modern tracks. But that's the thing about keeping them viable on modern tracks, is that Ferrari runs these cars themselves. When you buy one of these cars, you are not buying it to own. You are buying it for Ferrari to hold on to. This is a well-told story in the automotive world, that you buy one of these XX cars and Ferrari says, Thank you for the money. We're going to hold on to it. And one day we're going to call you when we're at a racetrack and you can fly out and you can drive your car. And on top of that, there's other expenses like, flying out there. And this is known as a high prestige event for these cars. Occasionally you'll see them at places like Goodwood, and some have even converted them to street, but it takes away from the track car aspect of it, right? Which brings me to the SF90XX. Now let's start with the regular SF90. The production run of the SF90 is comprised of 500 cars in the Stradale variant and 199 cars in the Spider variant. The Stradale comes in at around $530,000 before all the other, Ferrari fees. Now 500 cars doesn't sound like a lot, and especially 199 cars does not sound like a lot for the Spider. Now we get to the XX though, and let's talk about it real quick. The regular SF90 has around 986 horsepower and 590 foot-pound of torque coming from 3 electric motors as well as a twin-turbo V8, and weighs in the range of 3,593 pounds. The XX variant has a horsepower number of about, and this car isn't out yet, this car was announced today, about 1,016 horsepower, hasn't been verified, of course, and about 593 foot-pound of torque. So a 30 horsepower increase and a 3 pound-foot of torque increase. And the weight of the XX is around 3,461 pounds. And the Spider weighs about 3,659 pounds, which means that while the XX Stradale is about 132 pounds less than the regular SF90, the Spider is about 66 pounds heavier, plus the cut in chassis rigidity from making it a convertible hardtop. The red line stays the same, and the downforce figure is about 50% more, is what Ferrari says. Now, immediately you're probably thinking 50% sounds like a decent amount, right? Harking back to the 599XX, and especially the Evo model, the 599XX Evolution had double the downforce of the regular 599. So 50% is less. Now you're probably thinking, why are they making a Spider of this car? And that's the kicker with this thing. This XX branded car is road legal. Yeah. Now immediately you're thinking, that's all right. That's good, right? That seems like a good idea. Until you hear that there's going to be 799 of the Stradale XX and 599 of the Spider XX, which might sound like another good thing. Oh, there's more supply, more people can get one. And while I don't think pricing has been officially announced, I've seen some things here and there that say this car will be about $840,000 for the Stradale and $923,000 for the Spider. Or the other way around, but still. Which means you're paying almost double for this car that is less rare and special than the regular one. What is the logic in that? And on top of that, it would have been really cool if Ferrari went the route of making 799 of one variant and 599 of another variant for a track-only car, because we are quickly approaching the horizon of the end of the gasoline-powered car, and while road cars are being given further and further and further restrictions, race cars are on a different playing field. So if they made 599 and 799 race cars, this would be a different conversation. They would be getting more race cars out to people so more people can go out on the track and race. But they made it a road car, which means that it has to adhere to road car regulations and standards like economy regs and crash standards and noise regulations. Noise regulations, which is one of the defining characteristics of all the 3 previous cars, which is that noise, the screaming V12 noise. Now, while it only has a twin-turbo V8, Ferrari would have found some way to make it scream with no noise regulations, right? The characteristic of the XX brand is that it's a exclusive brand for track use for the most extreme Ferrari drivers. Now me, I've never owned a Ferrari, and I probably will never own a modern Ferrari. So I have less of an input on this exact, demographic. However, in the future, people will be looking for these experiences like these race cars when they can't drive their sports cars anymore. These days you can own a car, not do anything to it, and then take it from one smog check to another between 2 years and have it fail between those 2 years from doing nothing because the regulations are getting stricter, which means that eventually this Ferrari will not be able to drive on the roads because the restrictions will have gone down to the point where it's just not viable for them to use. And talking about viability to use, how much more could you have gotten out of the SF90 on the street? This is currently one of the fastest accelerating internal combustion engine cars, and it's a Ferrari, so it already handles well. What more could they have added to it to make it better on the road? And now that it's a road car, it also has to be compared against other road cars, which in today's world means things like the Gordon Murray T50 or the Rimac Nevera. And while you might be saying, this is not the hypercar, this is not the LaFerrari replacement, what is the competition for this car? You've taken a track brand with track morals and you said, let's make a car that it will work on the public road. Why? I thought this was sacrilege in my mind, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think the Puro Sangue is less of a dilution of brand for Ferrari. Because at least, with the DBX and with, all these new luxury SUVs from sports car manufacturers, the Lotus, whatever the heck, they need to make money, right? And Ferrari also needs to make money. And of course, the argument can boil down to, but they all need to make money at the end of the day. But they have the Puro Sangue for that. Lamborghini has sold more Uruses than any other car that they've made. That's the entire point of that car. And the Puro Sangue has a V12 still. A V12. The SF90 couldn't even hold on to that. They went to a twin-turbo V8 with hybrid assist, and now they're making a track car, or I don't even know what to call this thing. They're making a track car that's not a track car. And of course, now it has to have these things like noise insulation and comfy enough springs and yada yada yada, or else it becomes a warranty claim for Ferrari because they're not comfortable enough in the Ferrari that they bought. But they're not realizing that the original branding for that car, XX, is the track-only program. This car now has so many compromises baked in because they want it to be the most extreme SF90 or whatever their mission is. Which, by the way, this wouldn't have even been an issue if they went with the name that everyone was speculating they would go with, which was the SF90 LM. Which would make sense considering they just won the 24 Hours of Le Mans for the first time since Ford stopped them from winning. So that would make sense. But no, they picked the XX name, which now dilutes the specialty and meaning of that XX name. What is extreme about still having to homologate a car to road car regs? That's not the point of the XX program. Now, obviously, there's going to be the typical response of people who buy these don't care about that. They just want the car because of the prestige. You're missing the point. Ferrari could be influencing behavior. Ferrari could be changing things with how they make cars other than just, making an SUV. They had the perfect opportunity, if they're going to go with this level of production numbers, to make a car for the masses of people that want to go on the track and have it only be a track experience. In this time of EV domination incoming, that would have been probably more important in a couple years to some of these people than having a car that can also go on the road, which these guys have many of instead of this car to drive on the road. More comfortable cars even, like GTs that they also make. Or if they want an extreme GT, like the 812 Competizione, which they also make. They could buy that, but they probably did already. And now they're buying this because it's a Ferrari. So that's really it. I kind of just wish that Ferrari would have kept that name to the track-only program, But I mean, what do I know? I guess there's probably some level of marketing in there, but I'm just gonna be disappointed by this car now. But you know, stop being such a backseat driver. Hello everybody, thank you for watching the video. A couple quick notes before it's over. These are just some things that I had some thoughts on afterwards, or just didn't find a spot to put them in the first recording. One of them being something that came up in conversation before I recorded this, that being in comparison with something like the McLaren Senna. The McLaren Senna is another road car that is highly track focused. However, there is a GTR variant which is only for the track. It gains about 25 horsepower and loses about 410 pounds, and it has an additional 200 pounds of downforce, which is about 20%, which is less than the SF90XX. However, the Senna is already a lighter car than the SF90 and is shaped better for aerodynamics anyway, so it already gets more downforce than the SF90XX. Another note, this is more about dilution of brand, but something else that came up is the conversation about the 250 and the 288, as well as the 599 GTO. When the 599 came out, when the 599 GTO came out, it was a little controversial in that it took the GTO name and applied it to a car that didn't really fit the legacy of the name. And from my research in making this video, the standout feature of that car seems to be that it was an overall good car, but it just didn't deserve the GTO moniker, and it was a disservice to it. And this is more of the same with the XX moniker. Last thing here, my hope was to get this video edited and uploaded yesterday when the car came out. It is the day after. But I just ran out of time and I needed to go to bed and, get up for work in the next morning. And in that time, the Behind the Glass podcast also covered this topic as well, with a similar outlook in that they thought that branding was inappropriate, maybe less so than I thought, but they also brought up some other good points. I mentioned that the XX is only 132 pounds lighter than the regular SF90. That seems to be not the case, as they were discussing that the car was around 10 kilos lighter than the regular SF90, which I don't have a calculator on me, but that's an even less significant upgrade to the regular car. As well as that, they also said it looks a little Mansory, which I also got the vibe of. Immediately I thought it just looked a little too much to be a road car, and I actually thought it was a Mansory kit at first. Also, they pointed out that this falls into the Versione Speciale line of Ferrari cars, which includes things like the 488 Pista, the 458 Speciale, and the 812 Competizione, which means that this does take over the spot of the upgraded SF90 for sure, meaning there will not be a different version of this car that is more extreme. They were mentioning that overall the changes that will be made will make it a better car, but that doesn't fulfill the brief of what the XX name should be, and that's kind of the point of what I was trying to convey in this video. And then one last note, I wanted to also touch on the fact that all of the previous XX cars got an Evolution variant, and I would not be surprised if Ferrari also offered a Evolution variant for this car. And if that were to happen, it would need to be, in my opinion, a very significant upgrade, or possibly even just making the Evolution variant or upgrade kit a track-only upgrade. But yeah, that's it. That's all the final notes. Thank you. Thanks for watching. I wanted to make a little sidebar at the end because I'm going to be posting this to a channel that none of the content fits the rest of the channel. And if you're just here for Ferrari, you can leave. This is mainly for people that are coming from this channel and are like, what's this video now? I want to pivot to cars, so that's what I'm going to do. I wanted to get into journalism a little bit, and we'll see how this goes. This video is a little inflammatory, and it's it's firing some shots at Ferrari and people who like them. But I think that we're at a turning point in the industry that opinions need to be expressed about what you should expect from an automaker. But yeah, no more other content and stuff. There's going to be this show, which is going to be called Backseat Driver, because I don't have a ton of experience, but I know a lot about a bit, I think. And then there's another show coming later that I'm going to be doing with my buddy. And that'll also be fun too. So hopefully this all works out. And yeah, thank you again for watching.